We constantly buy into the golden illusion of Hollywood. When we look at a powerhouse or an icon standing in the dazzling stage lights, we blindly assume their immense wealth can protect their picture-perfect family from any earthly tragedy. But money cannot buy a cure for a merciless foe. Behind closed hospital doors, far away from the forgiving spotlight, lies a terrifying world of raw agony. Today, we explore 17 heartbreaking stories of celebrities who helplessly watched the person they loved most face a literal death sentence. This isn't about tabloid fodder or a scandalous betrayal. This is about the invisible punishment of sitting by a bedside, watching a silent predator slowly take over. They had to listen to the labored breathing of their spouses, feeling their reality crumble into an unfillable void. Prepare yourself for a devastating journey where love is tested to its absolute, agonizing limit. Amy Brabbson. The cruel mathematics of grief dictates that 32 years of building a picture-perfect family can be completely erased by exactly 14 days of sheer terror. Amy Brabbson and Andre Braugher had successfully shielded their glamorous marriage from fame's crushing pressure since 1991, confidently enjoying the forgiving spotlight of his iconic television career. They firmly believed their beautiful golden illusion was safely insulated against the chaos of the entertainment industry. But on November 28, 2023, the illusion shattered with a chillingly brief medical document. Late-stage lung cancer. The earth-shattering secret wasn't a scandalous betrayal, but a silent predator that had been quietly multiplying inside his body, violently disregarding the fact that he had quit his smoking habit 13 years prior in 2010. The sudden drop was breathtakingly fast, plunging Amy into raw agony. She was forced to watch the notoriously commanding actor instantly reduced to a fragile patient wasting away on a Mount Sinai hospital bed. The countdown was utterly merciless. She spent every single one of those final 336 hours right by his side, helplessly listening to his labored breathing through a plastic oxygen tube. While colleagues described her as his ultimate pillar of strength, behind closed doors, she was agonizingly tallying every lost pound and every skipped heartbeat. This merciless foe offered absolutely zero room for negotiation, therapies, or prolonged miracles. On December 11, 2023, at the exact age of 61, the terrifying equation was finalized. Andre passed away, leaving his wife trapped in an unfillable void. The ultimate, devastating calculation of Hollywood success remains absolutely unforgiving. Millions of adoring fans and decades of prestigious accolades cannot mathematically purchase a heartbroken wife even one additional hour with her dying husband. The harsh, sterile beeping of a Mount Sinai life support monitor eventually flatlined into a suffocatingly unbearable silence. That exact same paralyzing quiet would soon violently morph into the blinding, invasive clicks of relentless paparazzi cameras, eagerly hunting a grieving global fashion icon outside her lonely apartment. Simone Ledward Boseman. In 2018, Chadwick Boseman was sitting securely on top of the world. The dazzling stage lights of the Black Panther premiere had just created a global earthquake of cultural impact. He was an undisputed icon, the ultimate symbol of strength and resilience, and together with his beautiful partner Simone, they flawlessly projected the ultimate golden illusion. But beneath that forgiving spotlight, a silent predator was already devouring him from the inside out. Diagnosed with stage 3 colorectal cancer in 2016, his physical form was secretly wasting away. This wasn't cheap tabloid fodder. It was an earth-shattering secret kept strictly behind closed doors. By 2020, the vicious disease aggressively evolved into a literal death sentence, stage 4. The roaring applause of millions was violently replaced by the terrifying, labored breathing of a dying man trapped in a quiet Los Angeles home. Simone, his deeply devoted wife, endured raw agony as she spent 47 sleepless hours changing his diapers and wiping away the toxic aftermath of his high-dose chemotherapy sessions. She stood completely paralyzed, watching helplessly as the 4 drips acted like a merciless foe, slowly pulling the life out of her superhero's failing body. On August 28, 2020, the illusion shattered entirely when he took his final, heavy breath right beside her. She had bravely chosen to keep their marriage hidden from the public eye, fighting fame's crushing pressure just to give him a peaceful, dignified departure. What is the true value of being worshipped by the entire world as an invincible king, if your most loyal queen is completely powerless to save you from suffocating in the dark? The suffocating confines of that heavy Los Angeles bedroom closely mirror another sudden, terrifying collapse of a private sanctuary. A protective fortress of love meticulously built over 3 decades can violently shrink into the cold, sterile dimensions of a New York hospital room in just a matter of weeks. Iman. I am a heavy, worn leather jacket, permanently infused with the lingering scent of expensive cologne. For 18 suffocating months, I hung silently in the closet, serving as the mute, inanimate witness to an earth-shattering secret meticulously hidden from the entire world. Iman, a Somali-born runway powerhouse and global fashion icon, had carefully built a breathtaking golden illusion through her 1992 glamorous marriage to music legend David Bowie. They effortlessly navigated the forgiving spotlight, protecting their picture-perfect family from the venomous fame's crushing pressure. But in mid-2014, a silent predator violently invaded their sanctuary. The illusion shattered not by a scandalous betrayal, but by the ruthless diagnosis of liver cancer. Refusing to become cheap tabloid fodder, they chose complete secrecy as a survival strategy. While millions worshipped his ever-changing musical personas in the dazzling stage lights, I watched Iman endure raw agony in the freezing white sterility of private hospital rooms. She witnessed her vibrant husband relentlessly wasting away, his legendary face gaunt and exhausted, slowly transforming into fragile skin over bones. She patiently sat by his side, gently spoon-feeding him as he struggled with labored breathing, entirely powerless against this merciless foe. On January 10, 2016, his cruel death sentence was finally executed. When a grieving Iman was forced into the blinding paparazzi flashes a week later, fiercely rejecting the term late husband, she was actively battling the systemic blade of public intrusion. Now, she retreats into a rented, isolated apartment, sitting alone in the dark for hours, sobbing uncontrollably into my dark leather folds. The tragedy of outliving your soulmate is that a cold, lifeless piece of clothing becomes the only anchor keeping you from drowning in an unfillable void. A physical garment clinging to a private romance slowly dissolves into the glaring pixels of a smartphone screen, where a different television royalty deliberately broadcasted her spouse's agonizing final breaths to an audience of millions. Nene Leaks. We happily consume the heavily filtered reality of a television powerhouse, eagerly double-tapping images of a glamorous lifestyle and a picture-perfect family on our screens. Nene Leaks built her monumental empire on fierce confidence and a turbulent yet deeply loving union with Greg Leaks, securely basking in the forgiving spotlight. But the polished golden illusion of social media drastically mutated when a silent predator violently invaded their Atlanta home in 2018. Instead of hiding, she utilized a shocking survival strategy. She broadcasted their raw agony directly to the world. The illusion shattered as curated selfies were replaced by devastating photos of Greg battling colorectal cancer. The sudden drop hit its absolute lowest point on August 20, 2021. Away from the dazzling stage lights, she stood trembling as her husband lay wasting away, his body reduced to fragile skin over bones. The glamorous diva was gone. In her place was a broken wife changing foul-smelling surgical dressings while listening to his labored breathing and agonizing groans. When this merciless foe finally executed its death sentence on September 1, 2021, taking Greg at age 66, she posted a single, devastating word: broken. The systemic blade of fame inevitably demands her return to the cameras, forcing her to gather her composure in her car before stepping out, internally drowning in an unfillable void. The public happily consumes reality television, completely ignoring the horrific, unscripted reality of a crumbling home. A heavily filtered, public declaration of a shattered heart quickly dissolves into the suffocating, private silence of a legendary Broadway dressing room, where an iconic voice was about to receive a digital message that would permanently extinguish his internal fire. James Earl Jones, focused directly on a single pair of worn leather gloves, gripped so fiercely by a legendary actor in a Mount Sinai hospital hallway that his knuckles turned completely white. That tiny, unassuming accessory on October 10, 2016, contained the exact forensic weight of a golden illusion violently collapsing. James Earl Jones, possessing one of Hollywood's most commanding voices and standing as a cinematic powerhouse, had successfully protected his glamorous marriage to Cecilia Hart since 1982. They deliberately avoided the forgiving spotlight, quietly building a picture-perfect family safely away from fame's crushing pressure. But a silent predator operates completely outside the strict jurisdiction of human achievements. In 2015, the illusion shattered with a devastating ovarian cancer diagnosis, acting instantly as a literal death sentence. The sudden drop forced this titan to live a horrifying duality, commanding the dazzling stage lights of Broadway by night, while enduring the raw agony of sterile hospital rooms by day. The fatal blow arrived via a cold text message received directly in his theater dressing room. She had reached the absolute final stage. Rushing to the medical center, he stood paralyzed outside her door, clutching those gloves, terrified to witness the woman he loved rapidly wasting away. He couldn't bear to look at her fragile skin over bones, helplessly listening to her labored breathing as she surrendered to this merciless foe. She passed away exactly 6 days later on October 16, 2016, plunging his existence into an unfillable void. When he bravely returned to the stage just 3 weeks later, he was actively suffering the invisible punishment of a heartbreaking, earth-shattering secret. Before delivering his booming lines, he would always pause, desperately waiting for a familiar sound from her permanently empty audience seat. The forensic truth of a lifelong romance is brutally absolute. The most iconic voice on the planet is entirely useless when begging a terminal illness for just one more day. Piercing through the haunted silence of a grieving theatrical auditorium, the sharp clinking of polished wine glasses suddenly echoed across an Upper West Side establishment, masking the suffocating despair of a different musical titan desperately fulfilling a dying wish. Valerie Simpson. I remember standing by the crowded counter at the Upper West Side's Sugar Bar on the night of August 10, 2011, captivated by the loud chatter filling the room. Valerie Simpson, the legendary Motown powerhouse, seemed to effortlessly maintain her magnificent golden illusion. For decades, she and Nicholas Ashford shared a glamorous marriage that defined the very essence of soul music, proudly dominating the dazzling stage lights as an inseparable, iconic creative force. Yet, as I watched her mechanically wiping wine glasses with a heavy expression, none of the laughing patrons realized the earth-shattering secret violently unfolding right behind a small, closed door just a few feet away. The illusion shattered completely in that hidden, terrifying space. Since 2006, Nicholas had been secretly battling a vicious silent predator, throat cancer. It was a merciless foe that ruthlessly stole his iconic voice, reducing his once commanding presence to a fragile man rapidly wasting away. While the oblivious crowd carelessly drank and celebrated, Valerie was enduring raw agony, intensely listening to his labored breathing through an artificial oxygen tube. She had canceled all her performances, but opened the bar that specific night solely because her dying husband explicitly requested it. She would occasionally glance through the glass window, watching him give a weak, trembling thumbs up to encourage her despite his immense physical pain. Exactly 12 days later, on August 22, 2011, his death sentence was finalized. She continues to sing their hits today, forever enduring the invisible punishment of a permanently empty stool intentionally left next to her microphone. The most devastating reality of witnessing a legendary duet is knowing that eventually, the grandest stage lights will inevitably power down, leaving only one heartbroken voice echoing in the pitch black. The fading soul melodies of a grieving New York establishment gradually evaporate, immediately replaced by the oppressive stillness of a historic family estate in Encino, where the quiet anchor of a massive musical dynasty was preparing to silently surrender to the inevitable. Rebby Jackson. On the devastating morning of January 3, 2013, a heavy, suffocating silence violently crushed the historic walls of the Jackson family's Encino estate. The horrifying sound of a dropped smartphone echoing against the floorboards marked the exact moment a deeply guarded golden illusion finally collapsed. Rebby Jackson, the fiercely private eldest sibling of the world's most famous musical dynasty, violently fell to her knees beside a hospital bed placed directly in the center of her living room. Her husband of 44 years, Nathaniel Brown, lay completely unresponsive, his cloudy eyes staring blankly at the ceiling. For over 4 decades since 1968, they had meticulously maintained a glamorous marriage, carefully avoiding tabloid fodder and the dazzling stage lights to build a picture-perfect family. While her siblings constantly drowned in fame's crushing pressure, Nathaniel was the solid anchor that allowed this vocal powerhouse to peacefully survive in the forgiving spotlight. But in 2010, the earth-shattering secret of a vicious silent predator ripped their sanctuary apart. Cancer had aggressively invaded his body, acting as a ruthless, merciless foe. The illusion shattered as Rebbe spent 3 grueling years witnessing her husband rapidly wasting away into a fragile shell of skin over bones. She endured unimaginable raw agony, terrified by his labored breathing and praying desperately to delay his death sentence. But the disease was absolute. 3 days after her collapse, on January 6, 2013, Nathaniel took his final breath, ending a 44-year romance in an instant. Retreating entirely from the public eye to mourn in an unfillable void, she now visits Forest Lawn Cemetery in total, quiet isolation. The ultimate tragedy of human existence is that the deepest, most enduring love stories are mathematically guaranteed to end in the most profound, inescapable devastation. The agonizing stillness gripping a grieving widow in a quiet, isolated cemetery violently shatters against the deafening roar of a speeding vehicle on a Los Angeles freeway, where a frantic husband was desperately racing against a rapidly ticking biological clock. Al Joyner, the systemic blade of the global media, is a silent predator that ruthlessly feeds on the monumental achievements of black powerhouses. Al Joyner, an Olympic gold medalist, and Florence Griffith Joyner, the undisputed fastest woman in the world, seemed to possess the ultimate golden illusion following their 1987 glamorous marriage. They were revered under the dazzling stage lights, flawlessly projecting the image of a picture-perfect family. But the world was never satisfied with their greatness. The press relentlessly hunted them with chilling speculation and unfounded doping rumors. This intense fame's crushing pressure heavily exacerbated the earth-shattering secret hiding deep within FloJo's body: a series of severe seizures. The devastating sudden drop occurred on the afternoon of September 19, 1998, transforming the 405 freeway in Los Angeles into a horrifying chamber of raw agony. While society carelessly consumed cheap tabloid fodder questioning her legacy, her frantic husband was gripping his steering wheel so hard his knuckles turned white, helplessly listening to his wife gasping for air, foaming at the mouth, and violently convulsing in the back seat. He narrowly pulled her back from the edge that terrifying day, but the merciless foe had already finalized its death sentence. Just 2 days later, on September 21, 1998, the illusion shattered completely. While Al was taking a brief shower, a fatal seizure caused her to suffocate in her sleep. The invisible punishment of her tragic passing wasn't enough for the system. Al was immediately dragged into vicious legal battles with her family and subjected to immense public disgrace. He was eventually forced to sell his own home just to fund the lawsuits to defend his dead wife's honor against an invisible enemy of relentless rumors. Now, left in an unfillable void, he returns to the empty track every anniversary, running completely alone in her old workout clothes. The brutal, undeniable truth of the spotlight is that the world will eagerly cheer for your gold medals, but society will just as quickly tear your grieving family apart the exact second you finally stop running. The deafening roar of a hostile public arena violently giving way to the deceptive, peaceful chirping of a rural sunset merely proves that running away from the city cannot halt a biological countdown. Khalees, a single, monumental choice can radically redefine the trajectory of a tragedy. When photographer Mike Mora was diagnosed with stage 4 stomach cancer in 2020, the acclaimed vocal powerhouse Khalees made a definitive decision. They would reject the systemic blade of sterile hospital machinery. Instead of clinging to the dazzling stage lights or a traditional golden illusion, they deliberately moved their picture-perfect family to a secluded Los Angeles farm. They courageously chose to face this merciless foe on their own terms, far removed from the forgiving spotlight. But a silent predator remains completely indifferent to peaceful landscapes. On the afternoon of February 12, 2022, as she sat watching her frail husband push their children on a swing, the horrifying sudden drop violently interrupted their sanctuary. A sudden cough echoed across the field, and the illusion shattered the exact second bright red blood stained his shirt. The earth-shattering secret of his death sentence could no longer be masked by nature. Enduring immense raw agony, she had been obsessively recording his every word in a thick notebook, desperately trying to archive his soul before his body finished wasting away into skin over bones. On March 14, 2022, the inevitable was finally executed, plunging her into an unfillable void. The agonizing ripple effect of choosing a natural ending is the excruciating torture of sitting in the sunlight, helplessly waiting for the darkness to claim the man you love. The rustic tranquility of a sunlit meadow instantly darkens into the frigid chill of a winter night, where a legendary civil rights titan was about to watch his lifelong revolution come to a devastating halt exactly as the world blindly celebrated a new dawn. John Robert Lewis. To stand completely fearless against the brutal violence of segregation, leading historical marches that forever altered the moral fabric of a nation, is to achieve the ultimate pinnacle of human courage. As an iconic American civil rights leader and powerful congressman, John Lewis was a true powerhouse who commanded immense respect in the forgiving spotlight. For exactly 45 years, he and his wife, Lillian Miles, formed a picture-perfect family, building a legendary political legacy that seemed completely untouchable by ordinary tragedy. But on the chilling night of December 30th, 2012, this towering golden illusion violently collapsed into an unfillable void. While the outside world joyfully launched loud fireworks to celebrate the incoming new year, a horrifying silent predator was executing its final death sentence inside their Atlanta home. The illusion shattered as the fearless warrior who had bravely stared down armed forces now sat entirely panicked and powerless. He fiercely gripped Lillian's hand, enduring raw agony as he helplessly watched her wasting away from a severe illness. The heavy room echoed only with the mechanical hum of a breathing machine and her terribly labored breathing. In the early hours of December 31st, 2012, his wife passed away, ending their 45-year union on the exact anniversary of their very first meeting. He canceled his prestigious congressional duties, choosing to forever carry one of her cufflinks into the Capitol as a reminder of his invisible punishment of grief. What is the true value of holding the immense power to change the laws of an entire nation, if you are utterly powerless to legislate just one more heartbeat for the woman who built you? The heavy, metal weight of a solitary cufflink carried through the marble corridors of Washington seamlessly transforms into the oppressive, guarded silence surrounding a completely different political titan, where another formidable wife was actively barricading the doors against the world. Graca Marshall. The psychological terror of a global tragedy forces a wife to battle an invisible enemy before the physical body actually surrenders. As the historic First Lady of two nations, Graca Michelle possessed an unprecedented powerhouse status, fiercely protecting the monumental legacy of a global icon, Nelson Mandela. On December 2, 2013, inside their Johannesburg home, the golden illusion of his invincible statesmanship quietly crumbled under a severe respiratory infection. She deployed a fierce survival strategy, electing to erect invisible walls to meticulously control information and block out the silent predator of public panic. The illusion shattered in private as she endured raw agony, listening to his labored breathing while gently wiping the 95-year-old leader's brow. Reading him letters from African children, she fought this merciless foe with gentle hope. On December 5, 2013, his death sentence was finalized. Refusing to drown in an unfillable void, she immediately transformed her invisible punishment into a continued humanitarian legacy. Your deepest trauma is knowing you can never grieve him merely as a husband. The tightly guarded doors of a political compound deliberately obscuring the end violently contrast with the unforgiving clarity of a camera lens, where another heartbroken wife was actively documenting every second of her impending doom. Gene Mutusamiash. A single, routine medical procedure intended to save a life can violently mutate into the ultimate merciless foe. In 1977, acclaimed photographer Zine Mutusami Ashe and tennis icon Arthur Ashe began building a breathtaking golden illusion. They were a celebrated powerhouse couple, seamlessly blending her artistic brilliance with his athletic dominance under the dazzling stage lights. But in the late 1980s, A devastating sudden drop was triggered by a seemingly harmless choice: a blood transfusion during a standard heart operation. This single medical event secretly introduced the centuries plague into their picture-perfect family. For years, the earth-shattering secret of his HIV infection remained hidden, but by 1992, the systemic blade of media intrusion forced them to publicly confess to avoid tabloid fodder and protect their young daughter. Facing immense public disgrace and the invisible punishment of severe societal stigma, Zine watched her once invincible husband rapidly wasting away. By the evening of February 4, 1993, inside their quiet New York apartment, the illusion shattered completely. Arthur lay trembling in bed, his body reduced to fragile skin over bones as violent coughing fits left him desperately gasping for air. Instead of surrendering entirely to raw agony, Zine picked up her old camera. She bravely documented the silent predator claiming his life, capturing his heavy, labored breathing through her lens as a final testament to his spirit. He passed away on February 6th, leaving an unfillable void. The terrifying ripple effect of a single infected needle is that the ultimate death sentence can be delivered by the exact same hospital you trusted to heal your heart. The tragic mechanical clicks of a grieving widow's camera slowly fade into the overwhelming, deafening rings of a collection agency's telephone, where a completely different dying superstar was being aggressively hunted for millions on his deathbed. Altavice Davis. The horrifying mathematics of a Hollywood downfall can be violently quantified into two devastating numbers: 0 days left to live and a $7 million debt owed to the government. Altavice Davis, a talented dancer and actress, had spent decades maintaining the golden illusion alongside entertainment legend Sammy Davis Jr. They were a mesmerizing powerhouse couple dominating the dazzling stage lights from the comfort of their massive Beverly Hills mansion. But by May 1990, the illusion shattered, replaced entirely by a terrifying statistical descent. The sudden drop occurred as a silent predator, end-stage throat cancer, began rapidly subtracting his remaining hours. On May 12th, Altavice sat beside his bed, enduring raw agony while watching his body severely wasting away into skin over bones. She tightly held his hand with one hand and gripped a thick stack of terrifying tax documents in the other. The quiet room echoed with his labored breathing, making broken sounds as if he were being violently strangled, which fiercely competed against the relentless ringing of the telephone. Lawyers and tax authorities called incessantly, acting as a merciless foe completely indifferent to the grim reality that his death sentence was only days away. He passed away exactly 4 days later on May 16, 1990. The invisible punishment of this tragedy was absolute. Their beloved mansion and his personal belongings were immediately auctioned off. The most brutal equation of the entertainment industry is that a lifetime of priceless standing ovations will never prevent the system from aggressively collecting its financial debts right over your husband's dead body. The aggressive auctioning of a legendary entertainer's physical assets seamlessly transitions into an even more vicious legal battleground over paper inheritances, where another grieving widow found herself forcefully cornered by suspicious relatives before the funeral flowers had even withered. Glodian White. The destruction of a legacy violently begins exactly when the heart monitor flatlines. On July 3, 2003, Glodian White stood completely isolated in a tense Los Angeles living room, gripping an aging will. Her husband, the legendary music powerhouse Barry White, had just been claimed by the silent predator of kidney failure. In 1974, their glamorous marriage forged a breathtaking golden illusion of a picture-perfect family. However, distance had secretly erected invisible walls long before his death sentence arrived. Now, the illusion shattered entirely under the systemic blade of inheritance warfare. Barry's stepchildren stared with piercing suspicion, eagerly weaponizing rumors into vicious tabloid fodder to accuse her of greed. Instead of privately mourning his raw agony, she was instantly dragged into a brutal whirlwind of lawyers. She desperately fought to protect the final remnants of their shattered romance. The terrifying reality of wealth is that monumental success can be instantly shredded by the very family inheriting it. A suffocating avalanche of hostile legal documents desperately clutched in a crowded living room abruptly dissolves into the agonizing pages of a private medical diary, where another heartbroken wife was meticulously recording her own husband's unstoppable neurological collapse. Chanel Jones. The devastating timeline of an aggressive brain tumor operates with horrifying, mathematical speed. On April 10, 2025, Chanel Jones, a highly influential Today Show powerhouse, sat in her New Jersey home tracking a fatal, unstoppable countdown. She had stepped away from the dazzling stage lights and the forgiving spotlight nearly a year prior. Her husband, Uche Ojay, had been diagnosed with glioblastoma, a silent predator so violently fast that treatment was scientifically futile. The illusion shattered as their picture-perfect family faced an inescapable death sentence. Enduring immense raw agony, she aggressively documented every single neurological symptom in a thick notebook, coldly quantifying exactly how his body was wasting away. She spent an entire month reviewing photo albums with a man whose vision was rapidly failing, desperately gripping his hand while helplessly listening to his labored breathing. On May 23, 2025, the final, heartbreaking statistic was permanently recorded. Uche passed away. She eventually returned to television, transforming her invisible punishment into a public warning against this merciless foe. The cruelest calculation of a terminal diagnosis is that a wife is forced to actively, methodically document the exact, step-by-step destruction of her own soulmate. The clinical documentation of a physical collapse immediately shifts to the heavy, geographical burden of fulfilling a dying man's final wish, where a grieving actress had to cross an entire ocean just to construct a museum for a ghost. Cecilia Hart. Start in a silent Borabana museum in Senegal, where a powerful Hollywood icon meticulously arranges historical artifacts completely alone. Cecilia Hart, a revered acting powerhouse, was executing the final chapter of her glamorous marriage to Boubacar Koné. Just weeks before this solitary task, their golden illusion had been violently ripped apart. On September 18, 2016, she abandoned the dazzling stage lights and the forgiving spotlight, canceling all filming schedules to bring her dying husband home to Los Angeles. He was suffering from severe heart disease, a silent predator that left him rapidly wasting away. The illusion shattered among blooming rose bushes as she knelt in the dirt, enduring raw agony while listening to his labored breathing. She watched him helplessly stare at blueprints for their shared museum dream, realizing his death sentence was imminent. He passed away merely 7 days later. She immediately flew to Senegal, transforming her invisible punishment into a fulfilled promise. The ultimate tragedy of existence is that the most beautiful monuments of love are often constructed by hands entirely numb with grief. The global journey to preserve a spouse's physical legacy in a distant African exhibit shrinks violently down into the claustrophobic terror of a tiny apartment, where a desperate partner was fighting an entirely different invisible enemy during a worldwide lockdown. Leonard Reed. I am a cold, glowing laptop screen, perpetually stained by the mournful tears of a heartbreaking virtual farewell. Before the world completely shut down, Leonard Reed and his wife, the talented comedian Natalie Desselle Reed, enjoyed a beautiful golden illusion. While she shone on the dazzling stage with boundless, infectious energy, he was the quiet, steadfast pillar of their picture-perfect family, keeping them safe from the chaotic spotlight and forgiving. But at the end of 2020, two terrible forces collided violently: a global pandemic and the silent predator of colorectal cancer. The illusion shattered completely under the blade of this terrifying system. As hospitals began strict lockdown procedures, Leonard was forced to transform their small Los Angeles apartment into a makeshift medical treatment center. I sat silently at my desk, a mute witness as he endured the excruciating pain, teaching himself how to administer intravenous fluids while suffocating under a heavy surgical mask. He frantically adjusted the nutritional dosage, helplessly watching his once vibrant wife rapidly wither into a thin layer of skin and bones. The stifling room echoed only with her gasping, fearful breaths and the constant flashing of urgent news reports on my screen. On December 7, 2020, this cruel enemy carried out its death sentence, taking Natalie's life at age 53. The invisible punishment of the pandemic meant she couldn't have a proper, crowded farewell. Instead, I became the digital graveyard. Leonard stood completely broken before my camera, staring at the flashing digital squares of weeping friends, lost in an unfillable void. The ultimate horror of a modern tragedy is when the final video call ends and the screen goes completely black. The deafening silence of the glowing glass reflecting nothing but the utter isolation of a heart forever broken. Above are 17 famous Black people whose spouses died from terminal illnesses. Let us know who evokes the most sorrow and reflection in you. Remember to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next videos, which contain many more mysteries yet to be revealed.